Okay. So yeah, I think today is going to be pretty fun day. These are probably my favorite types of days. I really need to go ahead and manage that position real quick. But, worry about that in a moment. So the reason I say it's going to be kind of a fun day is because I think that we will all learn quite a bit from today, because it really it's kind of like an insertion of the rules, so to speak, and then how we go about doing things with those rules. I need to go ahead and knock out this profit target, guys, or at least protect my investment. So just so you guys understand, the only reason I haven't yet is because it still seems to have a little bit of momentum in it. We'll look at why I entered that position here in just a moment, but what I'd like to do real quick is just kind of keep an eye on it. So a lot of times, see, when price stalls like that, I mean, essentially we know what's happening, right? Okay, so it's hitting this supply, and there's no doubt about it. This is a supply level, all right? This is absolutely a supply level. 27.13 quarter. Let me just, so this is a pretty big supply level. Let me just sit here and manage this for I'm just going to go ahead and knock this out so I don't have to waste too much time. 5 points is good. If I can get that. Okay. Intraday trading, guys, we can just go ahead and knock out full position right there, kind of be done for the day. But when we look over here, I want you guys to be very mindful. Okay, you see what's happened since yesterday. We came down and we tagged our daily demand level. This is important. This is very important. This is actually the area, and I would venture to say that it could come a little bit lower. I feel there's a demand level. You guys can see where I have drawn it in. We're going to go today. We're going to spend pretty much all day analyzing different markets, defining levels, and how we would utilize those levels. Kind of a rule set of trading, if you will, right? You can see all these little squares over the price chart. Wow, I went back further than I realized. I did a lot of homework for you guys, right? And the purpose was simply to try to get you guys kind of up to speed as quickly as possible. All right. Got picked up by my Dow. Continuation pattern 3. You had okay, great. You took the Dow along then. You had a 3 lot, have 1 left. Good job, man. Very good. Well, just kind of the Dow we know is going to line up with this, right? So I would imagine the Dow is essentially, if the S&P's expectation is to go higher, obviously that you're in a good position then. Very good. So we can certainly look for demand levels today. Okay, no doubt about that. But yeah, let's come back to that. I just wanted to show you guys really quick why I am going to let that position run. Okay. At this point, the thing is, it's probably going to come back and take me out, to be honest, because this is a supply level we're about to come into. And, I haven't given it a lot of breathing room as far as my stop being below. So 6.25 points, 6.5 points there. Out of this supply level, it would definitely not surprise me. I'm pretty sure we're going to go back and tag this at least the 2709.50, but even potentially into this because, as you can see, a demand level has formed here, but this demand level hasn't confirmed itself yet. So I would not consider this on this particular time frame. I would not consider this a demand level. Just so you guys know, you'll understand this after the conclusion of today's lesson. Let's do be aware of that. Okay, now I don't have to worry about this trade or anything like that. We can focus on the room. In fact, let me go ahead and turn this off where I don't have to look at it anymore, just so you guys know that's how I prefer to do it. I've already alleviated emotions, right? So that's the purpose in doing that. All right, so again, we're going to be looking at multiple, multiple markets. But first, I did the homework on the S&P. And this is the homework that I want you to do, right? I want you to go back and, if I'm the one that knows this stuff like the back of my hand and I'm doing this much homework, what does that say about how much homework you should be doing? You know what I mean? Perhaps you know a method very well, and I wanted to learn it. I can tell you with conviction that I would be doing a lot of homework on that. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're gonna watch this level right here, though. Definitely a supply level. Very large drop in price away from that area. This level has done everything that we ask of it. So what do we ask of the level? Well, let's start with the homework. See how far I went back. I guess I went way back, way back, way back, way back. My goodness. Okay, looks like that's. Oh no, I went even further. All right, so I did a pretty good bit. So let's get started, guys. When we're looking at supply and demand levels, right? The first question that I want you to consider and ask yourself is, how do I know that there is supply there or demand? How do I know that there's an abundance of that particular direction? So let's say, of course we have this one up here, right? So we kind of started there, but I don't really have enough data. I'd have to put a little bit more data. So let's just start with this one right here, which is what we see. Okay. I want you to ask yourself, the questions that I just said. How do I know that there's significant buyers here? How do I know that? All right. Does anyone want to take a stab at that? let me just 1 second. Sorry, guys. All I'm doing real quick is just checking the economic calendar. And we're good. Okay. Yeah, Benny. So it has a big move and it proves something, right? Yes, exactly. Okay. So let's talk about what he's indicating there. So for one, the first thing that we want to look for to determine if it has a significant amount of buyers there or sellers, but in this case, obviously, we're questioning a demand level, right? Oh, and very good, by the way. You guys are all typing in price moved away, big move, improved something. Price moved away quickly. Basing departure, it proved something. VTC took out opposing supply. I love it, guys. You're a bunch of rock stars. Quick exit, also a little time spent. Yeah, these are all comments coming from you guys, right? That's awesome because you're all right. You're exactly right. So let's look at those and help the people who don't understand that. Maybe they'll completely understand this when we're done today. So remember, in order to determine if we have significant buyers in a demand level, we want to look for a few things. Okay, number one, what is the departure? All right. In other words, let me say that a different way, the way that I've always explained it. Do we have a strong departure? I think this is absolutely clear to us that absolutely we do. Okay. Now, a lot of people, guys, I've been doing this a very long time, and a lot of people have taken my curriculum and, among others, and adapted it and so on. And that's okay. That's their method of doing it. Everyone's a little bit different, and that's kind of the beauty in it, right? But what I would tell you is be careful when they say you need to get, let's say that they say, okay, we need a 2-to-1 distance exactly away from we need a 3-to-1, we need a 4-to-1. I want you to be mindful of that, okay? Let me tell you why. Because nothing's perfect, guys. Nothing's perfect. And it's always different, right? You're going to find amazing demand levels that sometimes are going to give you a 1-to-1 of the area. Okay. Now I would tell you to make sure that you at least have that. Maybe, but again, you're simply saying, does it have a strong departure? And the question is, instead of saying, did it move away from the area 20 times to 1, you can simply say, did it leave far enough that if I come back to it, I have at least, 1-to-1 distance. And again, it, could be greater if you want, but do I have enough profit potential to get back there, right? The reason that people typically tell you that, they want to see it leave the area that far or however far they're saying is for that reason. It's simply because the profit, it shows you the significance of that area. But you'll see, and trust me when I tell you in just a moment as we go through this, you're going to understand why I'm telling you this. Because some levels don't go substantially far, but the distance that they do go is really good, right? It's very strong. But again, don't dictate your every trade based on that. I think you'll miss a lot of great opportunities. All right. What I do want to ask myself, though, again, is did it have a strong departure? Did it move abruptly? Okay. And the next question I want to ask myself is, what was the arrival into that area? So let's do this. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to bring up Word real quick. I'm going to make some notes, yeah? I like to do this because it gives you guys, you can copy it or whatever. And you remember, guys, all of this stuff, the course is a decade worth of material, literally. Okay, so all right, let's pop over. I just got Microsoft Word here, right? So let's pop over Microsoft Word and let's ask ourselves. Actually, let me do this. Help if I could spell. And I should say quality supply or demand levels, right? Because supply and demand levels are going to be kind of all over the place and you're going to get just bombarded with them. But today you'll simplify it and you'll be like, oh yeah, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, it either is yes, it is demand, or no, it is not. Okay, so what was number 1, guys? Number 1 was, does the level in question, boy, I'm struggling here. Does the level in question have a strong departure? Question. Number 2, let's just skip all that, does the level quite, right? Okay, so number 2 is we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, what's the arrival into that location? By location, I mean the demand level itself, right? Okay, so what is the arrival here? Well, the arrival's fine, right? I mean, it's fine. What we're really looking for here in the arrival is to make sure that this is not simply a major retest of a previous crappy level. That's what we're really doing here, right? Daniel says, I'm confused by origin and fresh on intraday. Are you just simply talking about the, I guess I'm a little bit confused by that confusion of the confusion, right? We're going to come back to that, Daniel. I promise you I never leave someone confused. I always try my best to never do that. So don't worry, by the end of today, do not let me forget that. I promise you I will not leave until you're pretty solid on that, okay? Without me losing train of thought as we're going through these, because once I get this list kind of thing done, we're going to move really quickly. But so let's go here and we say, okay, does the level have a strong departure? Yes. All right, great. Determine the arrival into that area. Wherever the demand level in question is, what's the arrival like? And make sure that the demand level itself is not a retest. So if we go something like this, okay, is it a retest of a previous level? So I put that, under determining the arrival because that's what helps you determine it, right? This arrival, say for example, this level had to come back down into this area, okay? Well, now I know something that I didn't know before, right? Now I know that this is not an original demand level, and in fact, it's just a retest of this area, and that will change it big time. That will change big time, okay? Brian, yeah, you're saying or consolidation before the level. Yeah, but that's correct, and this is covered in the course as well. But that's not the arrival into the level in question. You're talking about the arrival back to it when we go to actually trade that level, right? So two different things, but you're onto something. So bear with me, and we'll come back to that. Essentially, you're saying by doing that, you're saying I don't want to form a potential opposing level right before I enter into my position, right? Because then I have no profit potential. So you're absolutely right, but without getting too far off of this topic, please hold that question, and if you like, I'll cover that by the end of the day as well. We can make this a fun going into the weekend. You guys are going to want to, most especially, I would say, review this recording. Okay? All right. So here we go. We now know if the level has a strong departure. It does. We're good. Determining the arrival, the area of the basing. Okay. Is it a retest? No. We're good, right? Arrival was clean, etc., etc. Now, here's a big one. Okay. Big one. Let's do something like this, and then we're going to go like this, and then we're going to go like that. Okay? This question is going to help me answer a bigger question. Earlier, when we got started, I asked you the simple question of how do we know, okay, that there's an abundance of that type of order there? And this is the answer to your question. In this case, it is a demand level, right? Did demand exceed supply, right? Yes or no? It's a simple question. If it didn't, forget about it. It's already told you that this is just a little bit of support here, and it's trying to get you to, wherever you need to be. That's fine. Hey, get me there. I mean, if I'm with the direction, I can go with you. But at the end of the day, that's not demand, right? It's a huge, huge, huge difference. Huge difference. So that's how we know, guys. We know that there's significant buyers here because it has a strong departure, and during that departure, it took out an opposing level of supply. So if there's not a lot of buyers here, why in the world did we take out the sellers? We would never have done that. We would not. If the equation were, let's say, I'm not saying imbalance, I'm saying if it were in balance, meaning the equilibrium was there, then we would have never, we would have just sat here, right? We would have come up, we would have sat, and maybe even turned back down from that supply. But we didn't do that. We went straight through it. So that in itself says, okay, right there, you need to already know that for some reason this area is stronger than this area. I would rather be a buyer at this level now that it has proven that to me. Okay. All right, and those are just these are a few of the things that you want to be aware of. There's a lot more to it, guys. We'll talk about the direction and the altitude and the multiple time frame analysis. But right now, let's just focus on the levels, because you would be amazed at just that one piece of the puzzle. If you got that right, I would venture to say you'd probably end up doing quite well. Okay. What's the difference between taking out opposing level or just structure? That's a big difference, right? Yeah, it is a big difference. So if you're taking out resistance, it's no big deal because we could care less about resistance, right? So what is support and resistance for one? Support and resistance, as defined in the course, guys, is going to be areas that have been tested multiple times, or areas in which we have spent a great deal of time. In other words, guys, like this, this right here, that's resistance, okay? That's resistance. That's not supply right here. This is definitely not supply. What is it? Well, it's turning from the supply, which was up here, right? But this is resistance. We spent a lot of time here, and if the sellers were so darn strong, out of this level, then why did they literally just sit there and go up and down, and then finally fall away right back to our demand level? And the answer is they would not have done that. So yeah, it is different. We're not looking for it, to take out, just anything, but we do want it to take out something, right? Focus on that right now. Don't try to concern yourself too much with the difference in support resistance and supply and demand and this and that. At the end of the day, think about it this way. It's almost always going to take, you know, some pretty decent support and resistance. But let's say that it does even just take out support and resistance. And let's say you're not factoring in the difference, right? What's happening there? Well, you get one wrong every blue moon. Don't even worry about it, because that in itself it's worth doing, because otherwise you may try to interpret too much information and then you're just going to make mistakes anyway. Okay, so I would rather you get one wrong every now and then. That's perfectly fine, no big deal, because we can keep on rocking, right? Keep on rocking, doing what we know to do without hesitation, without confusion. But when you start confusing it, when you start over complicating it, just by even a little bit, you're going to start questioning those levels more and more. And when you lose, you're going to think you did something wrong, and it's just going to spiral out of control. So let's keep that simple. Don't worry about it. Make sure it takes out some structure, okay? We definitely love to see them take out supply and demand, and you're going to see, obviously you guys saw the rectangle, so let's move pretty quick, and then we can look at multiple markets, right? Great questions, by the way, thus far, guys. Really love them. Doing a good job. Okay, so we have a strong departure. We have a nice arrival into that. One of the things that I left out, guys, is we can simplify this by saying, you know, we could say the time spent at the base of the level. However, a better way of saying that is okay. I promise I can type, guys. Okay. Yeah, my typing's usually pretty decent there, but I'm struggling today. All right, so the reason I say this, yeah? The reason I'm saying that you don't want to just say how much time was spent at the level is because of this simple fact. Volume bars are not based on time, are they? They're based on the amount of volume traded. So if I look into this area, 1021 up to 1039, so 1021 up to 1039, that's 18 minutes. Well, what if I'm on a 1 minute chart? That literally means I now have 18 bars in that area. No bueno. No good, right? So try to be mindful, not just the time spent, but what are you trading, right? Are you on a volume chart? Are you on a, you know, whatever it is, but we're more focused on the number of bars that are in that particular level. All right. Okay, very good. So this, all of that looks very good, et cetera, et cetera. We took out this opposing. We come back. Obviously, this would be our buy over here. Now, obviously, you can see the accuracy of our software. But, guys, today is so important, because if you're trading the software, I cannot just say this enough, because a lot of people think they can just put the software on their chart and voila, you know, a miracle six-figure income has occurred. Not true, okay? The way that software works, as many of you know, it's kind of it's pretty much black and white. I mean, it either is or it isn't, and you can factor in or code in gazillions of scenarios to differentiate as many of them as you can. But if you don't account for one particular thing, you're going to miss something on this level that you don't want to see on another level. And it just is what it is. So in order to do that, we want to print the levels, and then we can go back and say, you know, we can qualify it, right? Just like we're doing. I'm teaching you how to do this right now. So as we speak, we're going through and we're learning that this is an absolute qualified level. I can trade the mess out of it, okay? But what about this level right here? Would I ever want to place a trade there? No. What about this level right here? Right? I mean, no. So you want to factor all of that in. And again, by today, you'll know this. All right. So let's keep going. So we know where our demand imbalance is. This is going to be your guys' homework as well. So what I now want to see is, if I know where the buyers are, I want to see the sellers that are capable of taking those out. What do I now know about that area? Ask yourselves these questions. Does the level in question have a strong departure? Blah, blah, blah. Does it take out the opposing, right? You guys can copy these. I'll be happy to share it with you, right? Don't worry about it right now. We'll move quicker. So what happens right here? Okay, what happens right here? We come down, because most people are going to say, hey, here's your supply level right there, right? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say what most people are going to say, but at the end of the day, I know a lot of people would probably look at that and go, hey, there's supply. I want to strongly encourage you otherwise. That is turning from supply, okay? So this is the resistance that is turning from this area. So when we go down, the way that we really determine our supply or demand imbalances is simply when one takes out the other, guys. Okay? I want to see supply exceed the demand or vice versa. Right here, I do that. Now, as you can see, the way that I'm defining these areas, you're going to notice a line on almost all of them. Okay? This little green line right here, and then there's red lines for sell. What those are, just so you know, you can go into your drop-down menu here, go to continuation. We can turn the historicals on or off, right? You can see them flashing on and off. These are our real time, show RBRs and DVDs, right? Okay, we'll worry about that later. But what I am doing is I'm simply encompassing the area, all right? That's all I'm doing. You want to encompass the consolidation, okay? Now, and then again, you can focus on the accuracy of the zones in themselves. They're doing all of that work for you. Okay, so over here we say, okay, look, strong departure, what did it do? It literally took out this demand level, which is where we knew the buyers were. Not only that, though, it goes down to take out another level as well. Now, I would venture to say, as this is a valley, there's probably a demand level back here, right? But nonetheless, this area right here took out two levels, no problem. So what does that tell you about this area right there, right? Pretty strong, yeah? So if I encompass that area, same way, there's your little line there, remember? Okay. If I encompass that area, I want to be the seller right when I get just like that. Okay? Just like that. I want to be the seller just like that. All right. So let's keep moving, guys. I can move a little bit faster. There are things that we prefer not to see, and this is one of those. All right? Why is that? Because this is a literal level on a level. So you get confused at that point, right? You're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And the answer is a lot of times you're going to get impatient, so you're going to want to trade those levels anyway. But I would encourage you to be a little bit more methodical in that. And if you're seeing this type of situation, not just you, but others are going to be confused too. And typically those levels don't work out so well, okay? And again, that's only because level on level, just like that, back to back, they don't really know which one to trade. Nonetheless, if you are going to trade one, it would be the one that has met our rules, right? Our criteria. What is that? Well, does it have a strong departure? Does this level, right? The upper one? No. It just goes down to literally touch the demand, and then it has a pause right here. Well, there's the departure, okay? So did it have a strong departure? Absolutely. Was the arrival into this one good? And that's the issue, okay? So if you go back and you simply ask yourself these questions, this is what you're going to come to find, okay? So in this case, yeah, this one was a retest of something, so not a excellent level. But again, if you don't want to be confused with it and you're willing to take a loss here and there, because I can tell you guys, definitively speaking, if you do this, like a robot, you're going to find that 50% of these, and sometimes even more, but let's just say even if 50% of them worked out, your job has now become easier. And so what? You're right half of them, you're wrong half of them. It's not a big deal either way, but you're making your methodology easier and your emotions much less than, right? Okay. So again, there's your little line. Okay. We come down, we take out this demand level, very strong departure. So when we get back up there, of course, you're going to expect to see some selling, which is, you definitely see some selling out of that area. Okay. But what's more important is when those levels fail, because it is a level, but what happens right here? What happens on the one level that comes up to it? How do we know that there are more willing buyers here than there are willing sellers here? The simple answer is you don't until it's already shown you. But when they show you, and it absolutely definitively does, not only does it show you that they're stronger than this, but it goes all the way up and takes out, you know, 1, 2, goes into a third supply level. So yes, this is significant. So what do you think we're going to see when we come back to it, right? Large rallies away. All right, you guys with me thus far? Okay. And there you go. Now keep going. And so let's just keep going, guys. And remember, there's very simple items that we're looking for. I'm not going to go way back, but you guys get the point here. We come up, and there's your little line, okay? We ask ourselves, did it have a strong departure? Yes. Did it have a good arrival? Yes, meaning that it's no retest of a previous level, okay? Did it take out opposing? Yes, back there, and so on and so forth. All right, so the quality of this level is substantial. There's also a level above. What's the difference, however, in this level and the level below? Can anyone tell me that? I know you can. Yeah, Brian, that's probably what it is. You draw objects on your charts, yeah. Exactly. Exactly. The lower level has a better departure. That's exactly right. Absolutely. And also, yeah, Felix, of course, that's correct too. The altitude is now, you know, we're obviously higher. So, you know, that's worse for sure. But yeah, just the level in itself, the departure is vastly different. I would expect to see demand out of both of them, right? Especially since we are in an upward direction. So can I buy here? Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it, right? But just know you have two demand levels, not just one. All right. So as we move forward in time, you can see where this occurs over here. Now, if we have a supply level here that takes out this demand level, boom, right there, the dynamics of the market have changed, and I can actually use that supply level to my benefit, right? Because now I have a supply level I can trade. So I'm just trying to move with the direction of the market. Again, you can see the accuracy of the zones and so on and so forth. They're going to, a lot of times, you know, the zones are going to be far more accurate than just drawing in the pungency of the areas, but you'll see that as you go through it. All right, moving forward in time, guys. What happens right here? Now remember, we're turning from this demand. We never go lower, all right? We never do take out that demand, ergo I don't have supply. What do I have? Well, I'm just moving from my demand level that we bought from, okay? And that's great because now my stop's at break-even plus commissions up here, and hopefully we just keep going forever is what you're thinking. Kind of like what I did with that trade this morning, right? And kind of like I did with the trade, I don't know if you guys saw the video yesterday, but the demand level I pointed out yesterday in class, we ended up getting that, and I think it moved, I don't know, 7 or 8 points, something like that, but managed it the same way, okay? I can provide you the link later if you want to see that. All right, so with that being said, guys, what does happen here, though? This right here, you know, I kind of said this yesterday, but burn that image right there. You want to burn that image in your mind, okay? Just go ahead and brand it in there. The reason is because this level is just picture perfect. I mean, it is absolutely pristine, okay? Why? Ask yourselves all the questions. Does it have a strong departure? Yes. Nice arrival? Yes. How many bars? We're good. So you guys are probably wondering about the amount of bars. All of this is covered in the course. Don't worry. But we don't want to see a boatload of bars. Typically, our standard is 6. Okay. So if there's 7 or more in there, we go, okay, hold on a minute. It spent too much time there. We're gonna, we're gonna move on from that area, right? But the most important thing about this level is that it had no issues taking out that. It had no, and there you go, Benny. I think you were asking earlier, okay? Because this in itself, while it did go down here to take out this demand level, sure, it just went to find another one. Could you consider this supply? Yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, it spent a great deal of time, and that's really more resistance, isn't it? Okay? Really more of a resistance area. But nonetheless, it shot right through it. This is required, guys. This is required. This is part of the rules here. So in order to engage in the high probability areas, there we go. So we want to take that out, right? When we do our entry, again, the accuracy of the zones, we want to literally go ahead and plot a limit order right in the zone, right? Now, if you're drawing these manually, and I've gotten a lot of questions lately about this, this is why I'm showing you how to do this manually so that you can use the software, or you can just literally define the levels with 2 lines. We can do that. I will do that on the other markets when we get to them in just moments away, okay? I'll define those with I'll just put a blank chart up there and we'll just do it blindly, okay? And I'll let you guys choose the markets. All right, so as we go forward, you can see, you know, same thing. So now what I need to see is if I'm looking for supply, which the only reason I would be looking for supply is if I'm at larger time frame location. And that's what we're not accounting for right now. As I said, we're just following the context of the markets, the structure, the supply exceeding demand, demand exceeding supply, and so on, because that in itself will give you the direction. It will put you into the beginning of a new direction. That's even better. So as we move forward, let's keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. There's a level right here. Again, I'm not going to put all the data on the chart. Okay. But again, you see this little congestion area right here. Okay. Just like that. Strong, this is very strong demand. It's a great way to go about looking at these areas. Look at the arrival into this. What's great about that is if we break below this level, that means we have a long way to go to the next level. And that's a problem for the buyers because they don't want that. They want to buy, you know, when they get the opportunities, and when they don't, when they miss that opportunity, well, that means that they have to wait. So they feel, you know, they're not very patient, right? They get impatient and they don't want to wait that long for a new level. Okay, otherwise they're just in a down direction and they'll start selling anyway. So they don't want to be pushing through levels that have a long way to go to the next one. All right, so this becomes a demand level. As we move forward, again, picture perfect, right? Burn the images in your mind. This image, nice arrival, nice departure, very few candles there, takes out a nice supply level up there, okay? As we return to this area, I would be the willing participant. It looks like we attempt to touch it there. We could scroll forward if you guys want to do that. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but I can show you. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if you guys saw that. Okay, again, the zone's degree of accuracy. All right. I thought I painted this one red. You'll see another one in just a moment that's supposed to be red, but I guess I may have changed it. Okay. All right, there we go. So here's a level, and without a shadow of a doubt, that is a level, right? But if I go through just those simple questions that I asked previously, can you guys tell me the issue with this one? Somebody just throw it out there. Try to tell me what the issue with this level is. Think about the arrival, guys. Think about the arrival. What was that question? Let me bring it back over. Think about the arrival. Okay. We're just going through a simple, few questions here. Think about the arrival, right? Is it a retest, of a level? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it is. This is a little double bottom right here. Okay, a little double bottom actually, forms only because of this level back here, right? So on and so forth. Yeah, absolutely. So this level in itself is not so quality, is it? Okay, so we're going to keep going, keep going, keep going. But again, I want you guys doing this, on your own price charts. You guys can see this area takes out all of that. Do you have any questions about this, guys? I can move super fast now. Picture perfect level here, comes down, takes out demand, no problem. Huge departure. I fully expect to see sellers out of this area, and you do over here. Not huge, albeit, but they are there. Okay. Same thing here. Great level, goes up, takes out 2 supply levels. We simply revert back. All right. This little area right in through here, what does it do? Takes out demand. Nice departure, nice arrival. Not too many candles there. fully expect to see sellers there. And as we scroll that over, they actually test them multiple times. Okay, you guys getting the picture? Please ask any questions that you want, guys. I know this is difficult, especially for some new people in the room, but listen to me closely. You are just as much a part of this as I am, okay? You should not ever feel like you don't need to ask a question. But what you should feel is that if you don't ask a question, we should all frown on that very much, right? Meaning if you have a question and you don't ask it, that's a problem for everyone, right? It's going to slow down your learning curve. It's going to slow down everyone's because we'll have to go back and review it, things like that. But if you get it, you get it, and that's okay. It's wonderful. When do you look left to see if it's fresh? Okay, Daniel, great question. So the answer is never, right? Because let's explain something really quickly. First and foremost, you've probably watched some webinars, right? And you've heard that term. Bear in mind as you go through the course, fresh levels, you look to the right. Original levels, you look to the left, right? So remember, that things get changed and so on, but this is how our methodology has always been for more than a decade, okay? Long time. Fresh levels, it's simply asking you, has the level been tested since it formed? And the only way to know that is to look to the right. If I look to the left, I don't know. I mean, you're looking at what's happened before the level. So that has nothing to do with if the level is still fresh or not, right? However, if we're looking to determine if a level is original, then I want to look to the left. Does that make sense? And so when do you do that? You could always do that. Yeah, I mean every level, and pretty much by we'll add that to the list, right? Okay, because we only want to take the level the first time. Yeah, so very, very good. I'm glad you asked that. But yeah, so throw that on your list of questions, okay? And that doesn't necessarily go into the reason I didn't put that is because it's not necessarily qualifying the level so much. Is just that's more qualifying a trade. Is it an actual trading opportunity? Okay. Very good question though, and that will all make more sense as you move through the course as well. But don't hesitate to ask them just like you did. I appreciate that. Very good. The previous zone that you said was perfect seems like there were candles to the left. Let's go back and look at that. I don't want to move forward until we go back. Okay, so I think, are you talking about this one or scrunch up the chart a little bit? Nope, I believe you're talking about this one, correct? Yes, okay, good. So what he's asking here is again, terminology being different with some people and so on, that's okay, no worries. At the end of the day, it's just a term, guys. We need to care about the logic, right? So what he's asking here, basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, but he's saying if you take these candles and you look left, he's saying that there appear to be previous candles. So you're talking about I would use this term loosely, but the originality of the level in itself. Here's how we determine that. So I'm going to take a moment just to explain that before we move forward. Again, I don't ever like to leave questions unanswered. How we determine that, let me move this, is we take a line, and if we're talking about demand, we go from the low of the level. If we're talking about supply, we use the high. Okay? So in a demand level, I'm going to plot a line right on the low of this, and I'm going to simply go left until I butt my head up against something. Now the question is, what is that something? Is that something a level, or is it simply a candle? In this case, it is nothing but a big candle, right? So this level right here is absolutely original. It forms all on its own. And the reason that it formed is because it needed to produce buy orders substantially to take out all of this resistance up here. And that's how it happens. Yes, exactly, Daniel. You stop at the first thing you touch. Why would we do that? Why would we stop at the first thing that I touch? What if I went through that? Let me show you. I'm going to make your mind work real hard here. Okay. So what if I were to do this and go back and check out this area right here? Okay. Let's think about the true logic of order flow on an exchange. Let's say that we have, 1,000 exactly, Patrick. You cannot cut exactly. He says you can't cut through the candles, or he actually says, yeah, can't cut the candles besides those orders are all filled. Exactly. But let's explain that a little bit more in depth so that everyone's fully on board. If I go from the level and I look left and I go beyond what I touch, think about the orders sitting on the exchange. Now, if I have a bunch of sell orders back here, or 1 or 1,000,000 or whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's just say I have 10 sell orders back here, okay, at this exact price point. As I go down, those orders can still be there. How do I know that for a given fact? Because I didn't go up through them. I haven't traded through them. So I know they could still be there. But when I go down and I come back up, see where I touch that little point? Okay, great. There could still be some orders there, right? Absolutely. But when I go up even 1 tick through that price point, it is done. I mean, it does not exist on the exchange, not a single order. It's not possible, okay? So if we have a price point on a price chart and we trade through it, that literally means that 100% of the order flow that was there has now been filled. Otherwise, you cannot go through it. So the reason that we don't go backwards and that we stop on the first thing we touch is because if we go through that, we're simply looking for something that doesn't exist anymore, right? I only want to go back to what still can be on the exchange, because remember the point in the logic in our methodology. We trade 2 things, right? Unfilled orders in combination with newly placed orders at those areas. When you have both that lines up, right? I mean, it's just, you're talking about twice the amount of order flow. So that's what we're really looking for. And definitively, we know that there's nothing left back here. Does that make sense, Daniel? Why we don't go through the candles and why we stop on the touch? And it's okay if it doesn't, man. Look, I know that it's definitely a lot of thought process. I get it, guys. But if there's a way that I can help you more, let me know. If you want me to spend a little bit more time on that or anything like that. Okay, good. He said, now it does. You're very welcome. Very welcome. So we're always moving the levels if we do it manually. Well, we're really always moving the levels no matter how you do it, right? Because, we're not moving once a level forms, it remains there, but we're adapting to new levels that form, right? So yeah, I mean, we have this level until a new level forms, So when we keep going, obviously we would have gotten that entry. But if we didn't, maybe we just kept going to the upside and so on and so forth until we do get a new level, right? So for example, we get a great level up here. Then, yeah, I mean, we would take our buy limit order from way down there and move it up here because we have to adapt with the condition of the market. Oh, I see. After that entry, then remove it. Yeah, correct. Well, I mean, it would have been filled, hopefully, right? But if you go down, if you're asking the question of when to remove your entries, if we go down into a level and it moves out of the area, right, and it leaves the area, then I would, especially if it hits your profit target destination, I would absolutely cancel that order immediately. And I would not use that level again. That's just me personally. I like the first time when we go back to levels. The reason that I do that is because there is a way to determine levels that are going to be tested multiple times, but it's so difficult, it's just almost not even worth doing, right? I mean, you really have to put so much thought into it. It's just, I would rather just take it the first time and make my life a whole lot easier. Okay, so, all right, let's go. There was that other level, guys. We'll move a little bit quicker now. That's why I painted this one red, because it was a retest of something previous. So obviously this over here, it does get a little retest of it. Actually does bounce away, but we would expect price to go through that. No big deal. Okay, great level here. Supply exceeds that level, so now we have a great level of supply. All right, and then we turn from that. Okay, so you can see how almost all of these are going to produce, some reaction. Whether it's an enormous one or not, well, we don't know that until we know, until either our huge profit has been reached or it hasn't. Okay, so then we have situations like this. All right, when we go, obviously we take out this demand area, we continue departure and so on and so forth, retesting of that area. The zone captured this one quite nicely. Okay, let me ask you guys something, if you see this or not. Because what you have right here, guys, is an absolute level of supply that originated right there. Okay, this in itself is an absolute level, but just note that it originated up here. Okay, just note that it originated up here. How do I know that? Right there. Okay, because that's the one that took out the low. There we go. Okay, because on this big red candle right here, that's the one that actually took out that demand level, isn't it? Now this level here, as I said, is obviously a level 2. Look at what it did. This was a little bit more tricky though, because there's technically no level there, but it is a level. It's the gap is what that is. So that's why it's a little bit more tricky as that one occurs, because there's a huge gap there. Okay, so it takes that out, no problem. Revert back in, and you're good to go. All right, moving a little bit faster. Supply exceeds demand, guys. Return to, very good. All right, supply exceeds demand. Eventually, we're going to come back there. Let's see. Yep, there we go. Okay, so if you notice, we come up. Let's extend this over. Yep, here we go. Okay, so we come up, we touch that, and just boom, shoots us all the way back down to here. So a lot of willing participants at that level. All right, let's move it back. Because remember, every supply level eventually has to get taken out, and in order to do it, the demand has to occur. Every demand level has to get taken out, and in order to do that, supply has to occur. So you just got to be watching for them at all times. Larger the time frames, the less you have to do it, guys. That's quite nice, right? That's why I don't trade. I don't like trading the very small time frames, because people try to do this and they try to follow the structure of the market, and they just, it's a lot of work. It really is, when you can do it a lot less and have a higher win to lose ratio, and also much greater in the profit. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay. All right. So a nice demand level goes up, takes out supply. Nice departure, nice arrival, original level. Expectation is that when we get back there, let's go see. Long time, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Wow. Whoop, there we go. Okay. Get the picture? Very good. Let's go back. And I think I'll probably just skip over maybe the rest of these. It looks like, or it sounds like, you guys, with the lack of questions, you guys are pretty much kind of getting the gist of this, right? There's all these little levels that are going to form. What you also want to know is that if you are with the, remember we've talked about this week, if you're with the direction, you're in a strong uptrend, a momentum uptrend, demand level, demand level, demand level, demand level, right? They should not fail. And when they do, supply level just formed, right? Okay, so I want to be fully aware of that. Just like this up here, look at this, for example. Uptrend here, right? Momentum up move. But when it fails, and it does, it fails right here. Look at the first supply level that we form right there, and that is absolutely a supply level. How do we know that? Well, because look at what it did. Huge departure, takes out demand without a question. Because this was a demand level back here. Obviously, you can see it there. So it takes all of that out, no problem. So when we come back up there, I expect to see a turn away, and we do. We touch it, and we turn all the way back down to here. Okay, but what then occurs? Demand exceeds that area, takes out 2 supply levels. So my now perspective is I want to come back to this. I want to buy the mess out of that market. And there you go. Just like that. And you actually get multiple retests out of that. Okay, so let's move. Let's just go ahead and move. Oh, it's a bummer. I should have been managing that position. That's okay. So this is, excuse me. Notice that this right here is a demand level. Okay. We definitely went up and hit a nice big old supply area, right? For sure. Went through this one. So what happened there? The imbalance now has shown itself, right? Remember, in order to take out supply, what do we have to have? Demand. So this is just happening in real time. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I'm taken out of that position there. Oh, no, I'm still in that trade. Hot diggity, dog. Look at that. That's all right. I thought I had been taken out at break-even plus commissions, but I had not. So the reason I say that I would be managing my position is because obviously when we're hitting these supply levels, the expectation is that you're going to turn down, guys. It's supply, right? But nonetheless, I simply sit back a lot of times and just go, look, if it's going to, if it's going to go, it's going to go. So might as well just let it do its thing. And you'll be very happy you did when you end up with 20 to 50, 100 points in profit. All right. You don't get those that often. So most people are probably going to choose to exit full position at profit target 1. That's perfectly fine. There's no wrong way to do it. I've done it that way. Just doesn't matter to me. The reason that I do attempt to let my trades go is because it is so stressless. I mean, it's so easy when you have a big winner, and you don't have to do anything sometimes for weeks, right? I mean, it just depends on how large it goes. But yeah, you don't have to do anything, guys. And that, to me, I mean, that sure is nice, right? So you see us rallying out of that demand right there. There you go. So this is just what you're seeing in real time. And we knew that because of everything I've taught you today. Ask yourselves those questions, right? What did this area do? Did it take out an opposing level? Absolutely. I told you in the beginning that was supply, right? So yeah, it took it out for sure. Strong departure, nice arrival, not too many candles, etc. All right. Now, if we take that out, guess what? Watch what you're seeing form in real time. Okay. You'll see it. If this goes down and drops down through this level, you're forming supply literally as we speak. Okay? Now, we're not even going to remotely do that. Okay? We have to wait to see that. We don't know if that has occurred or even if it will, right? Hopefully not. But if it does, we now know how to be aware of it. All right, guys, cool. So let's do this. There you go. So I don't know if you guys were buying in that level or whatnot, but anyway, giving you a nice shove up there. Let's see. Oh yeah, these are okay. Should I lower the number of contracts and increase the ticks and risk in order to get an entry on these thick levels? Look, at the end of the day, as you know, obviously I can't make a recommendation to you, but let's tell you what I will do. That is exactly what I will do. Why do I do that? Because the volatility in the market is different, right? It doesn't change how price reacts. These are algorithms doing most of this these days, right? So they're still going to touch the areas exactly as they always do. They're still going to depart from them exactly as always. But when the volatility is large, you really don't have much of a choice because you can't expect to have small risk tolerances when the volatility is large like that. Yeah, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So you're absolutely right. I would reduce that. Give me just one. Oh, heavens, guys, I'm sorry. I was sitting there talking to myself the whole time, apparently. I was just readdressing what your question was about lowering your contracts. Yes, the simple answer is yes, absolutely reduce that because of the volatility increasing in the market. All right. Does leaving a zone and then coming back to it the next candle mean anything? That's wonderful. If it is a true zone, right? So that, remember, oh no, Daniel, you're new in here. So that's what I call an immediate level. Okay. Those are awesome. I mean, they are awesome. So when it's kind of like this is, something like that. Let's just use this for an example, right? But you see how price literally leaves right here and comes right back to it. So that's almost perfect, because don't focus on the level or anything like that. I'm just saying as an example, that's wonderful because that's a very new bundle of orders that just got formed. So the quicker you can come back to it, the better off it is. The longer it takes to come back to it, the less validity it holds. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, if you want to check out oil on the hourly, you'll see real time. All right, what you've taught today, let's go do that. So, as a matter of fact, let me just pull up a different chart over here, okay? That way I'll leave. Let's go take a look at oil. All right. Wait. Chart tried to disappear on me. There we go. So let me do that. I told you I'd remove everything. Okay. Okay. Nice clean chart here. 60-minute. Okay, you said on the hourly you'll see real time. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Okay. Supply was here. Give me just 1 second. Let me read through this. So we're going to kind of go backwards and start so that you guys can see it as you move forward in time. Because if I were way back here, I'd be looking, I'm quite certain that's a demand. Yep, absolutely it is. All right, so this is a big one, right? But there's your demand level down there, okay? Great departure, few bars, great arrival, original level, okay? It's not been tested until obviously the entry, etc. And then we just keep moving forward in time. We go up, take this out, great departure. There we go, incorporate the consumption candle, great, that's a demand level, keep going. This level here goes up, takes out previous level, yep, we're good there. Original level, nice. Okay, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you guys how to train your mind kind of to do it in the flow of things, right? So right now all I'm doing is just looking for the demand imbalances. And why on earth would I do that, right? Well, if I don't know where the demand is, how am I supposed to know where the supply is? Okay. You see what I'm saying? I got to know where the demand is in order to take it out. Okay. So this area right through here, I think that one's pretty darn clear to us. We incorporate the consumption candle into that. You'll learn that through the course. That's how we maintain very few stops. Okay, very good. So now we go up and we take that out. So this area right here is what I want to be concerned with. Let me open this up for you guys to show you. Put your line on this level, right? And move to the right. So right here, all right? What is taking this out? Okay? So it's this area right here. So I want to define that area. Now I have a demand level. Okay? That makes sense? Just like that. So remember, today what we're focusing on is the levels alone. We're not focusing on the direction or the altitude of the market, which is going to be crucial. We can trade, obviously, we can always trade demand levels with the uptrend and in larger time frame demand. That's just the two ways. We talked about this yesterday. So we want to be with the direction or in a larger time frame location. Just one of the two. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Either way. I love to get them with the larger time frame locations because those are the ones that you want to hold on to. And obviously, if we're in a trending market, you know, holding on to our positions is always a good idea as well. Yeah, but absolutely right. So let's look at let's go to the weekly chart of oil. Oh, I forgot my chart. I didn't have anything on it. All right, so this is nasty up here, but right there. Let me see something. Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough data because here's what I'm trying to do. I see a supply level right here, no doubt about it. I'm going to define it, but I really am curious if there's a demand level back here because that's how I'll know that the supply exceeds the buyers at that point. So let's do this easier without having to move my chart so much. Let's put a line right here on the low of that area in question, right? Because what I want to know is, did the sellers exceed the buyers at that area? I'm going to follow that line back. Uh-oh. There you go, right? So absolutely. We actually took out a boatload of buyers. So here's what I'm going to do. There we go. Okay. Told you I'd do all this manually, as I will. So what I'm going to do is define my supply, just like that. All right. So this is my supply level. Pretty proud with that one. Let's go see where we are now. All right, so we haven't reached that, which tells me obviously there's a supply level right here as well. Okay, this little supply right here, but it's already been tested. Attempted it once, now it's coming up again. You have this demand level, so let's look at it this way. Do that. An easy way to do this, guys, is to focus here. Okay, so is this a demand level? Put it on the high. Demand level. So put it on the high. Ask myself the question: did it take out supply? Oh yeah, took out some major structure back here, right? So, that's not the correct tools. Okay, there's my demand, just like that. All right, well, let's don't hesitate about it. Let's ask ourselves a question: departure, arrival, times, well, not really time spent, but amount of bars, so on and so forth, the questions. So we expect to have a turn from here based on the weekly chart, which tells me that down on the 4-hour chart, I could trade like a rock star out of my demand levels there. Okay, just no question about it. If you go through the course, you'll see that we've put together specific time frames for trading. All right, weekly in the 4-hour is what we would use. All right, so another weekly level is up here. So we've turned from this demand level, and the only supply, we have two supply levels. We have this one here, which I need to see. Again, I just don't have enough data back there, right? So we're going to obviously go ahead and say this is a supply level, I think, for the obvious reasons, because it has already turned from there, right? I mean, that is where we're turning from. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that there was a demand level back there. There's no problem. I don't really care because we've already tested that area anyway. But my thought process here is I have demand, I have supply, and I have further supply. So if we can capture this on the way up, well, that's great because we've already tested this supply level. Okay, we've already tested this one. So it shouldn't be much of an issue to get up to this above level. So that should be great. Okay, we would just need to go down in time frame to do that, right? Okay, the smallest I would go is 60-minute, obviously, but I really would, you might want to check out a 4-hour chart there. Okay, that makes sense. All right, we can take it to a smaller time frame if you guys want to. So we know where our weekly levels are. Let's go down to a daily. It's going to be very difficult to get to our daily just so much data it looks like we need. Let me try 1,000, but let's see what I can pull in from here. Not very much. This whole area though, that's that weekly demand. As you can see, goes up and takes this. So let's go ahead and let's go in here. All right. A lot of times, guys, I've had tons of people ask me, you know, how do you know which levels to trade? How do you determine them? How do you know which one's not to trade, and so on and so forth? There is a reason that these levels up here are failing, just the same way as I told you guys about the momentum unsustainable move on the S&P on the daily chart. Remember, we talked about that. But this is the same. And what's the issue here? These are in the middle of the move, but more importantly, how do I know that there's, you know, how do I know that there's real demand there? Or how do I, you know, it could have just been a continuation of what was already occurring, which is quite easy anyway. But if I have to take this out to do it, now I know that something had to be real strong. And look at that big candle right there. Something right here, okay, proved itself. Remember yesterday I talked to you guys about the levels that prove themselves. Those are the ones you want to focus on the most. Okay, the levels that prove themselves. This had something to prove. These up here, it does not appear that they did. I mean, they're just continuation levels in the midst of the move. Okay? Yeah, so this little area right here. This one's a hard one to define. If you've been with me for a long time, you'd be able to determine this little area right here, but let's not focus on that right now. It's a little bit unclear right there. It's a little bit more difficult to do. Okay? Daily chart. Direction down, so we'd be looking for supply, and the supply is way up here. Actually, I've already pretty much defined that. I didn't even realize. Yeah, so I would expect to see sellers even lower really, but once we get up above that 63.15, okay, watch the 63.90 area for sellers to occur. And how do we know that? Well, look. We sure did not have a problem going through all these little levels, right? Indicating that there's strong supply above. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much information today, but look, here's what I can do. Let's simplify all of this. Well, I've already tried to simplify it, but let's look at it a different way. And if you guys want to go to look at different markets, I can do that. Did oil hit a supply zone around 9:30 Eastern time? So let's go see. We'll talk about the direction and determining that. We draw, obviously, you know, you can go into the course, again, decade worth of material, but we define our trend lines very methodically, as we always have. So you're going to want to definitely take a look at that. Have we hit a supply level around 9:30? So let me plot a 9:30 line here. So it's somewhere right just before that. These are hourly candles. So are you talking about this big area right here? Yes. Okay, Daniel, this is a good question. Look, here's the thing. Ask yourself, how do I explain this the best? How do I explain this the best? Did supply take place here? Absolutely. Right? I mean, oh yeah, absolutely. They did without a shadow of a doubt. But, okay, was it a retest of something? Let's go find out. Absolutely. So what you're looking at is not supply so much. Okay, it's not supply so much as where supply took place. These levels, as you can see, this is well, it's not now, but it was a fresh level, right, until today. So what I want you to understand about this is that these levels work substantially well on the large time frames, and they work in the direction of the market. So if you're pulling back into a fresh level, like this in the downtrend, sure, absolutely they will typically work until they don't. And when they don't, okay, this is going to happen. In other words, look, look at that huge thing right there, right? You kind of had something there too, but look at where that demand level occurred, right into that. So I would now rather be the buyer than the seller because the dynamics of the market have absolutely changed. Okay. And again, is this a supply level? Sure, you can define it as that, but I would tell you the terminology I would use is this is where supply took place, because look at how strongly it turned from this area up here. Now, if I go further, I would venture to tell you that neither of those are the real supply level. Let's see. Let's see. How far back do I have to go? This is the area. It's a big one though. Might be one of those unusual situations. Let me see for 1 second. I need more data. Hold on just once. I got to get a big. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, there we go. Nope, I got it. Okay, so this is where the supply originated. So let's go back and look at how we knew that. You saw me scrunching up my chart. What I was trying to do is go back. Do you see this demand level right back here? Excuse the phones. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I thought that was... All right, so let's go. How did I just determine that? Remember, you saw me scrunch up my chart because I'm looking for something. What I was looking for is this right here, right? Okay. I was looking for the, remember I told you, in order to determine where the supply is, you need to know where the demand is too, right? Otherwise, all we know is we just had a blip in the road and just a continuation level formed, and that's really nothing to shake a stick about. But what I now know is that, I mean, just crashed through there, right? So this level right here is where the supply originates. This is a very crappy area, okay, just to be quite blunt about it. I believe that we can go through it, but I would venture to say that this happened because of overnight trading. Let's see. Yeah, see, that's exactly what happened. You see all of this? This is overnight, right? See my timestamp down there, 1900, 21, blah, blah, blah. This occurred right in the 9 and 10 a.m. open right there. And it just shot to the downside. Okay, so that's where the real... Let's do it like this. That's where the real supply is taking place, yeah? All right, and we have come really close to that. Did we reach it? No, we haven't quite reached it, but it is really close to that. So you're probably going to see us rally a little bit more, right? This probably, which lines up with what we're saying, because we now have new demand, but yet we have levels that are, you know, retests of previous areas and so on and so forth. But all I can do is dictate this to be the original level, because if I look from the high of that level, there is nothing, right? I mean, I know what it's trying to get to, but at the same time, you know, it didn't get there. So that is an original level. This level is a level that formed because of that level, which is now a fresh level until today, till it was touched today. Okay. What I would encourage you to do, whether you decide to do this or not, is entirely up to you. But I think you're going to come to find real quick that if you focus more on the actual supply and demand levels, you're gonna really do well. For example, guys, check out the difference. You know, is this your demand level right here? Or is this your demand level back here, right? Grabbing that consumption area like that. If I were to use this level, look at what happens. It gets taken out by a tick or so. But if I use the real demand level, it never does. Okay. Same thing down here. Same thing's going to be up here. It's all the same. So I would encourage you to focus more on the real imbalances, as opposed to those levels. But those levels we'll talk a little bit further. We'll talk about those next week if you want. Just remind me. But those levels are to be used only with the direction of the market, just to put it simply. Okay. All right. Great questions, guys. Do you have any more? Do you have any markets? Anything you want? I need to jump out of here. It's about 10:30 almost, and so I need to jump out of here. But let's go check on that S&P. Oh, you're still going there. Did any of you happen to get on board that level right there? Now that you've seen, as I said when we started the session, by the end of the session, you should have a pretty profound understanding of what I was talking about, right? So there's no real reason, that we would define that as demand. Okay. All right. I'm a little bit surprised. I think it's because I've had this happen. For those of you who are new, guys, look, I've had this happen my whole career, as far as the business goes, because it's obviously taken precedence over the years. It was never intended, but it did. And, I've had this happen. I've had the was an educational director for a long time, even before this. And so I guess I have a tendency to explain things, whether it's good or not, in your opinion, I don't know. But I try to do it in such a explanatory way, I guess, and I've always had that. So a lot of times I tend to overwhelm. Be mindful. I'm not trying to overwhelm you. I'm actually trying to simplify it for you. But at the same time, I'm so passionate about giving you all the information that it's kind of a fine line. So I get it if you don't have a lot of questions right now. But what I would encourage you to do is take those questions and write them down as you're going through. Because when you're doing your homework, you're going to find a question. Write it down. On your site, I reviewed the consumption candle video a few times. What else can I do to get that to sink in? You're doing it. Honestly, Daniel, you're doing it. Ask the question in the room. Because I can really dive into what I've done today, right? Really deeply explain it. So remember that the reason that I structured things the way that I did long ago is because you can't just learn from a course and then know everything, right? It just, in my opinion, I think you need to learn it, and that's imperative. You have to learn it from the course. You just have to. But then it's further figuring it out, right? It's actually putting the puzzle together, and it is asking the questions that you don't understand about the course, and it's going through all of the material so you can see it on a chart in real time. So do me a favor, if you will, because that can be a little bit of a lengthy conversation. Table that, write it down. Daniel, if you will, write it down for next week, and I will be more than happy to have that conversation, and we will make sure that you get a full understanding. Let me go back to the beginning now, as I believe there was a question. You're very welcome, Daniel, absolutely. I thought I missed a question, but it doesn't appear. I know there was a question about you were confused by the origin and fresh on intraday, but I think I've probably addressed that question. Guys, is there anything that I missed from today? Are there any questions that you guys have that I can address real quick before we conclude? Remember, look, if you're a Forex trader, I don't care. I will happily jump over to spot markets. It's irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter, right? We can look at Forex, futures, equities. I love the futures markets, so that's what I go to. But when I ask you guys if you have markets you want to look at, that is the time for you to say, oh, I trade the dollar or the euro dollar or the pound dollar or the yen. I don't care what it is, guys. Okay, that is irrelevant to me. So if you want to do it, you just have to let me know, though. Okay. All right, guys. Hopefully this recording you'll be able to go back and review. I really would encourage that. Hopefully you do, guys, and just try to become part of the community. If you guys want to start posting, I've tried to get the forum back ready. I know it's been a while, but if you guys want to start posting on the forum, post questions. You all have access to it. So post questions. You guys can communicate with one another, all that fun, good stuff, and just kind of enjoy, okay? God bless you. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of the day. And remember, do this homework over the weekend. I think you'll come to find it can be very advantageous.